Sorry about that, we're looking forward to seeing you in this next programme.
Zhejiang province in eastern China is one of the country's most prosperous regions. It owes its affluence to the waters of the Qiantang River, the lifeblood of Zhejiang. The Qiantang feeds the fertile lands around it for 500 miles down to the East China Sea. Local farmers know its ways well, for it can be both a blessing and a curse. Every month, around the time of the full moon, the river's strange behavior confirms a local suspicion that this is the home of a fearful spirit. The Chinese call it the Silver Dragon. In fact, it's the largest tidal bore in the world. History records that in the 12th century, suicidal surfers would ride the boar in sacrificial attempts to placate the dragon's wrath. In the past, it wreaked havoc in the countryside, killing many thousands. Only recently have the Chinese permitted strangers on the Qiantang when the dragon roars. China once again is opening its doors to the outside world. The tentacles of Western consumerism are touching the shelves of even the smallest shops. The invasion is nothing new. The Chinese have coped with foreign devils many times before. But the new access is producing some strange sights in the high street. Inflatable boats and surfboards are the necessary paraphernalia of a group of men on an unusual mission. Stuart Matthews is an English schoolteacher who plans to surf the Qiantang bore. And with him is Fred Larcombe, a veteran boatman from the River Severn in England, a waterway with a bore of its own.
We're going to have to watch that, you know.
Andy Long is Stuart's surfing advisor. John Biddle will drive a support boat with a film crew on board.
Take it slowly.
The Chinese are intrigued by it all.
I don't think the Chinese understand surfing. I don't think they understand my ambition because it's a Western thing, surfing. They've never seen anything like it at all.
Yeah, we look to have...
Stuart was here 4 years earlier. Then the authorities flatly refused his request to ride the bore. Now, with their full blessing, he needs to check out the dragon's lair thoroughly before donning his wetsuit of armor. At Hangzhou, around the time of the full moon, when ocean tides are at their highest, strong Pacific currents flood into the trumpet-shaped estuary of the Qiantang. The river's shallow bed pushes them up into a wall of water more than 20 feet high and 5 miles wide. It creates the world's largest tidal bore, twice a day for 4 or 5 days.
It's very important to know the river extremely well because the bottom undulates and we can predict when the wave is going to break and when the wave will reform. And the better I know the river, the more chances I have of having a successful ride.
If you look at that hole over there, Andy, that's what the bore's done.
It's taken the rock away totally, hasn't it?
The waves actually run up that, hit it, move the rocks and rebound it down. So it's obviously going to break along there and rebound out.
Yes.
So we're going to get that rebound wave.
So you want to be a fair distance.
If you want to know a river well, speak to those who live and work on it. The Qiantang is a busy thoroughfare. Thousands of Chinese have to cross it daily as they go about their business. Stuart and Andy have decided that a word with a ferryboat captain won't go amiss.
Have you seen the tidal wave, the bore, here for many years? Yeah. Is it every year? Has he seen any accidents? Two boats were moored somewhere near the bridge, facing the bore, and when the bore came, the first boat was pushed by the bore and hit the second boat. And then the second boat was turned over by the wave. Can you tell him that I'm going to try and ride it on a surfboard? Does he think that's possible? 这是我们世界冲浪冠军。没人冲，从来没人冲，也不是不太清楚。Nobody has done it, but you may can try.
Stuart Matthews teaches physical education, but his first love is surfing. He dreams of conquering the Qiantang dragon.
It must be the ultimate challenge. It's the Everest of surfing. If we go back in history, back to the 12th or 13th century, people used to actually sacrifice themselves on small pieces of wood, so perhaps they were the first surfers. But nobody's taken a conventional surfboard there before. I'll be the first. When we did the recce, we went to one of the local museums, and there was a 27-foot-long moray eel that they'd sliced open, and inside of it was a 5-foot Chinaman. I just hope I don't meet up with its baby brother or its father, maybe.
Up and riding. We're looking at about a 2-foot board here.
Stuart prepared himself for China, physically and mentally, on the English River Severn. Here, with Andy Long helping him, he's trying to break the world record for long-distance surfing. Like the Qiantang, the Severn has a tidal bore, but that's about as far as the comparison goes. This wave averages 2 to 3 feet. In China, it'll be 5 times the size. But surfing rivers anywhere can be risky.
On the river here, we've had 2 people killed this year, and on average, we see 3 or 4. The main dangers, falling off in front of the wave and being bundled along in front of it.
Yeah, this girl's doing really well. Hey, well done. As long as you don't go into the bank, you'll be quite safe.
The long ride, that's what makes it attractive to me. I can ride for maybe 15 or 20 minutes.
We've gone over the mile. We're looking at just about 1.25 miles, and 1.25 miles has already shattered existing records. Shattered existing records. Shattered existing records.
I am superstitious. There's always going to be luck involved. I think things have got to feel right. You know, you get this sixth sense if things aren't going quite as they should be. And you get warnings. Some people may laugh at that, but you've got to go by what you believe in. You can't just toss caution to the wind.
Hangzhou, capital of Zhejiang province, is an ancient imperial city. But even here, modern Western pastimes are catching on. On the West Lake, the local windsurfing club is delighted to have an English master in their midst.
New Chinese champion.
Hey, very good. I have a new sport. Would you like to try my sport? Put your hands up. Good, good girl. Good girl. Oh, nearly. She's nearly there. Oh, yes, brilliant. Bend those knees, keep the arms straight. Smash in. Doesn't she look lovely on that? Brilliant. Yes! Good stuff, good stuff.
Taichi is an ancient discipline practiced each morning by millions of Chinese. Done correctly, it induces a state of mental and physical well-being. Precisely what Stuart needs for the challenge facing him. Fred Larcombe has found his own way of relaxing, adding a new boatman's skill to his repertoire. The team has decided that it's time to have their first look at the Dragon.
That way. Oh, yeah. God, this is something.
It's not yet at its peak, but it's something more than they expected.
I'm telling you, mate, that is not nice.
Why don't you go around the back of it?
That's worse behind it. We're stuck in the middle now, mate. Look at that standing water there. It's a whirlpool.
Stuart decides that the location is not quite right for surfing. There are problems with the boat and the risks are too high. On this occasion, discretion is the better part of valor. It's round one to the Dragon, but it's just the first skirmish.
I mean, we saw a 10-foot wave there, and that's a small one. Behind it, it was 15 foot plus, and there was an enormous hole.
Oh, it was big, really big. Broke the boards in the boat again.
How does it compare to the Severn, Fred?
Oh, it's you know, this is it.
No comparison, eh?
No comparison. There isn't a comparison. This is the largest, must be ocean.
The size of the wave matters in sort of increments of fear, but the most important thing is the safety of the shape of the wave. If the wave's a shape where I can run away from the breaking crest, then I know in my own mind I can handle it. But if it's going to just crash down like that, then there's no way you could ride it. But we feel that there are places further upstream where, in fact, the board does lose a bit of power, let's be honest about it. But we feel there are places where we can ride it. We'll find a place where it's going to be really good, but not here. You got the front, Annie? Okay, I'll hold on.
Finding just the right spot is a major problem. Downstream, Stuart feels the wave is too fierce. So the team moves further upriver. The autumn full moon has a special significance for the Chinese. On the banks of the West Lake, courting couples and lovers relax in an atmosphere of lanterns and fireflies. Romance is everywhere, particularly in the tea houses. But the team from England have one thing on their minds.
And the wave was 3 to 4 waves deep, wasn't it? I mean, there wasn't just one big wave at the beginning. It came back several waves after, and each one was 10 to 15 foot.
What it all boils down to is whether or not that wave is rideable. I mean, there's 3 foot of chop, 3 foot swell in front of that wave. I don't want to go back to that same place again.
Oh yeah, have another crack.
You're a lunatic, Larcombe. You're an absolute lunatic. We've got 3 more days, mate. I mean, we've got to get a ride, and we've come so far. Is it moon tonight? It's beautiful, isn't it?
Look at it. Wednesday morning, a bit bigger.
The moon that brings the boar into the river brings a change in the weather. The tail of a typhoon that is hitting Hong Kong 600 miles to the south sweeps through Zhejiang. It's a dangerous day to be on the water.
What about this rain, Fred?
There is little for Stuart to do but discuss his tactics one more time.
We're down the bottom end, it should be bigger, isn't it?
I'll tell you one thing that does worry me, though. As we get further up to now by that new bridge, we're not exactly